Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are all set to begin with another stimulating session on connecting the dots. First of all, I would like to thank our esteemed speakers for being part of this panel discussion. Welcoming Dr. Brilliant SK, CPO, Head Places and Processes at Times Pro, Mr. Sanjay Kumar, CHRO at Apar Industries Limited, Ms. Prableen Kaur, Head HR, Aftermarket Division, SMIT, SMGM at Minda Corp Limited. Ms. Pallavi Kar, Associate Director HR at Tablespace Technologies. The corporate world is getting competitive and challenging with each passing day. And with the recent pandemic, keeping up with the competitive landscape has become an uphill battle. To face the challenges, the organizations and its workforce needs to become resilient to adapt. Our esteemed panelists would share their views on how organizations can foster long-term workforce resilience. HREI welcomes you all to the session on connecting the dots. To know more about HREI and its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. I request all participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our moderator for this session, Ms. Pallavi Kar. Pallavi is the Associate Director HR at Tablespace Technologies. She has been working as a transformation and change agent in the field of talent management and organization development since last 16 years. She has been conferred with the prestigious award of Emerging HR Leaders League Top 40 Under 40 by the Economic Times Group and Woman Inspiration Award 2022 for Emerging Woman Leader in Corporate by Eventbox. Pallavi is a certified master trainer for training L&D, learning and development professionals and leaders. She is also a ACC ICF International Coaching Federation certified NLP Neuro Linguistic Programming Coach. She is passionate about helping individuals and teams identify what they want or aspire for in their lives and careers and support them by facilitating, empowering them to reach their goals. Without taking any more time, I will now hand over the platform to Ms. Pallavi to take this discussion forward.
Thank you so much, Faisal and team HR Association of India. And a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much for investing your time with all of us today on this beautiful, bright Thursday afternoon. My name is Pallavi Kar, and as Faisal has introduced me already, I'm the Associate Director HR with Tablespace Technologies. It is one of the top corporate real estate organizations in India. Today, along with me, I have an amazing panel of highly eminent HR leaders who are here to share with us some very exciting, very interesting views on one of the most critical yet very, very relevant business challenge or opportunities that every company is facing today. That is fostering long-term workforce resilience. Now, in times of adversity, there will always be some companies who are much more successful, who are much more stronger, they emerge much more stronger than their counterparts. Now, why is it that some companies are able to successfully weather the storm, whereas the others are not able to? Now, there could be many answers to this, but one of the main answers lies within the people of the organization. Now, when I say people, I mean the people who are the employees of the organization, who ensure that the business operations run, who ensure that the business meets the targets no matter what, and the leaders. The leaders who are able to empathize, the leaders who are able to engage, leverage the talent of and the knowledge base of their employees, and thus foster long-term workforce resilience. Now, we have been using this term resilience for quite some time now. I think it has also become the new normal along with the pandemic. So what exactly is this resilience? Now, there are many definitions to it, of course. I'll go by the basic dictionary definition of it. If you look at resilience, resilience is basically the ability to recover from or adjust very easily to misfortune and change. Resilient people are thus highly aware of the situations around them, and they know how to manage the emotions and sentiments of people around them as well. Why is it so important? It is important because resilient people, by maintaining this power of resilience, are able to come up with much more interesting, much more powerful solutions to problems and challenges that they were not able to imagine before. Now, we all know that our lives are full of problems and challenges, but the resilient persons are one who are able to accept this challenge with a mindset of openness, flexibility, and adaptability to change. So without any further ado, let's quickly dive deep into this discussion. And before I introduce the panel members, let me just take a quick temperature of the room. How many of you in the audience today are facing challenges with managing workforce resilience in your own organizations? Can I request the team HR Association of India to put the poll question? So you'll see a poll question coming up shortly on your screen. I'll request you to please put in your responses. How many of you today in the audience are actually facing challenges for ensuring that you are able to manage your workforce resilience in your own organization? Are you facing it? Are you not facing it? Okay, we have started getting responses. And even while the responses are coming in, let me tell you how this discussion is going on. We'll just quickly tabulate the responses in some time. But what we are going to talk about in this session today is, whether you're from the HR fraternity or whether you're from the business, you're a business leader, or you are somebody who's an employee and want to look at long-term resilience in your own organization. By the end of this discussion, you should have some fresh new idea, a fresh new strategy, a perspective that you could go back and implement it back at your workplaces. So how this discussion is going to be, I'll take a few more minutes to introduce our esteemed panel members. I'll kick off the conversation, ask some major questions that could be the high-level themes that we should be talking about or thinking about. And what I'll request you to do is please keep your questions, whatever thoughts that are coming to your mind, please keep it towards the end of the discussion, because we'll have some time for ensuring that we also answer some question and answers towards the end of the discussion. Great. I think we have our poll ended. Amazing that a lot of you are, a lot of you have given such prompt responses. And I see almost 63% of the audience today are having challenges with managing workforce resilience. Great. So let's quickly get started, and let me introduce the panel members to you. Thank you so much, Team HR Association of India. If you could close the screen. So our first panel member with us today is Prableen Kaur. Prableen has experience of working in various industry segments, and in her current assignment, she's associated with Minda Corporation Limited as head HR for 3 business verticals, that is Technology Center, Aftermarket Division, and EV Division. Prableen is an ardent change management, organizational development enthusiast. She has been exploring herself in the journey and believes that learning is a continuous process. She has a keen interest in the subject of emotional intelligence and effective measures of EI for building long-term workforce resilience. On a personal front, Prableen is associated with Soka Gakkai International, the organization working on the principles of Buddhism for establishing long-term world peace. Thank you so much. Welcome to the discussion, Prableen.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone today who have truly taken time out of their busy schedules to be part of this very interesting, intriguing, and most needed subject of today's times. Thank you so much. Thanks, Pallavi, for such a candid introduction. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prableen. Moving on, our next panel member is Brilliant SK. Brilliant is the Chief People Officer and Head Places and Processes at Times Pro, a Times of Group in India initiative. He brings more than 25 years of work experience across diverse domains like education, IT, logistics, working with blue chip organizations like BNP Paribas Bank, CRISIL, SP Jain School of Global Management, etc. On a personal front, Brilliant is a social media enthusiast who shares his learnings with brilliant tips. Hashtag Friday ke Fun Day on his YouTube channel. Welcome to the discussion, Dr. Brilliant.
Thank you, Pallavi. My pleasure.
Last but not the least, our final panel member for today is Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Sanjay is the CHRO at Apar Industries Limited, where he is responsible for organizational strategic plan of the design and execution of HR strategies and solutions that support business objectives. On a personal front, Sanjay is also a prolific writer in prominent newspapers, research journals, Forbes, etc. Apart from being a public speaker and a speaker at various HR forums like this, webinars and TV shows. Welcome to the discussion, Sanjay.
Thank you, Pallavi. I really look forward to this interesting discussion to exchange ideas and also to learn from the fellow panelists on this important topic of fostering, the resilience, which begins right from physical fitness and wellness to mental wellness to, of course, the further building blocks and more complexity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now that we have our eminent panelists already, introduced, let's quickly jump into the discussion. And I'll ask a few questions, as I said, to all the panel members. My very first question goes out to Prableen. Prableen, everybody is talking about workforce resilience measures being implemented in the workplace today. Now, what are some of the most important measures that have been taken by different corporates, including your organization, to ensure that resilience at workforce can be maintained?
So, well, we are into discussion of a very important subject of these times. And you also very well explained that how resilience is important today. But what do we understand? It's a simple literal meaning is capacity to cope with the changes and challenges and to bounce back during difficult times. I believe, and you all will also echo with my belief that the world has just come out of pandemic, and actually, in reality, it is still struggling to come out of the pandemic which has been posed by COVID-19. Yeah. So I think this pandemic situation has forced all of us to think differently. Think that how such uncertain circumstances can be overcome, how to prepare ourselves to face such challenges on which we don't have any control, maybe on the personal sphere and on the business front. We truly didn't have any control on the challenge which has been posed by this pandemic. And the noteworthy point, I would say, is the good leadership, role modeling, autonomy, empathetic leadership have played important role in overcoming and helping organizations to come out of this crisis situations, where they didn't only protect their businesses, but also were worried to protect the interest of their employees. So keeping all these things in care, we really work around a holistic model of engagement, which was based on 4 pillars. It is known as CARE model, which was based on communication, accountability, recognition, and employee well-being. So whereas communication was actually aimed at helping and supporting employees build peer connect, which was very important to have go-to person in the organization, enhance leadership connect at various levels. On the other hand, emotional well-being, which was very important, and it was aimed at the holistic development of the employee. So it has 3 pillars for employee well-being. First was the physical well-being, then is emotional well-being, and then is spiritual well-being. So we carved out various programs, deployed different kind of interventions to work in the holistic development of the employee. So on the physical front, there were different measures employed to check on the ongoing health parameters of the employees. On the emotional well-being, we have introduced a special program on the mindfulness in the organization. And we stay connected with our people, whether it was work from home or a hybrid model in place through the online platforms, one-on-one coaching sessions on mindfulness, which has really helped employees geared up to face the today's challenges. And there was eminent engagement witnessed and positive work environment witnessed at the workplace. We also tied up with various spiritual organizations, maybe ISKCON. We have recently launched a program known as Rupantaran, which is an intervention to promote the holistic mental, emotional well-being of the employee, as well as spiritual tenet of the employee. And the program is based at introducing employees to various meditation techniques, as well as self-development techniques for the employees. So various programs were also instituted across the organization to increase the team bonding, so that there should be somebody, some mentor existing in the organization who can be go-to person in the times of crisis for a particular employee. So all these small measures, small thoughtful interventions really helped us bringing employees together, making the organization, which is widespread across the Indian and international geographies, come together into a small cohesive unit known as family. So we proudly claim ourselves to be part of a cohesive unit that is Minda family. So these were a couple of interventions which we took in our organization. And I'm sure the world has witnessed that these interventions have really helped a lot of organizations who have come out of this pandemic successfully. More so, our personal belief is it is very important to connect organizations to the purpose, the employees to the purpose. So it's very important to connect them to the higher core purpose of the organization. So if the purpose of the organization is to have happy workplace, happy and inspired employees, so it's very important to work on the total well-being of the employee, not just aiming at enhancing their career skills, which is part and parcel, of course, of the career journey, or strengthening the reward and recognition programs, which is important to recognize their efforts and moral support, but over and above, is very important to connect them to the higher purpose of the organization. A little effort which we made, we actually engaged our employees in corporate social responsibilities activities as well. So every employee in his or her own way is engaged in one or the another effort of the organization to make a better contribution to the society, which helps elevate them also as a human being and inculcating human values in the organization. So I think that these small measures go a long way in building resilience at the workplace. We have very thoughtfully employed trainings on the resilience, which are based on the model of Glasgow Research Center, which is a 5A model of resilience. So this model is primarily based on communication, connect, trust, employee well-being, and health and empathy. So all these 5 pillars are in a way contributing and helping employees elevate and stay connected to their higher self, which is a wider term, but it's a continuous journey, I believe. It will take some time to institute interventions for not only change management or organizational transformation, but transformation based on the principles of resilience and helping employees to be resilient in the tougher situations, like some of the organizations who have employed such measures and protected the interests of their employees. They have emerged very, very successfully out of this pandemic and have helped themselves and the employees building a bond of trust at such tough times. So I believe that such measures are very important to build resilient transformation of the organizations, which is need of today's time, the time which is ever dynamic, the market situations which are changing every moment. And there is a kind of stress which is always on the top of the mind that today I'm relevant, maybe tomorrow I may be obsolete for the industry. So how to stay ahead of the curve, but at the same time, how to stay ahead of the curve based on the humanistic principles and strengthening the core, which has helped and which will help I believe, the industry in such tough times of economy, which is going up and down, and the industry trends, which are changing so fast. Moreover, the expectations of the generation. We have Gen Z, we have old-timers, all sitting in the same organization. So expectations are so different. So how to deal with them and make all of them relevant for the existing times and the times to come. So I think that today, emotional health, EI, these are very important trainings for each and every one of us as a human being to deal with the stress, to deal with the challenges which are posed by ever-changing technology, ever-evolving dynamics of the market. So that's how I look at it, Pallavi, and all the audience members, that how it is important to have resilient related measures in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts across, Dublin. And I completely agree with you. I think it's important that as organizations, we wake up to the fact that emotional intelligence needs to be taken care of. So the emotional intelligence, the requirements of the employees need to be taken care of well. Now, Pradeep talked about a very interesting concept here in terms of generations, different generations of employees need to be managed differently. Right. So my next question is to Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Sanjay, in the HR workspace or in the corporate workspace, we say that different generations of employees need to be treated differently. Their work styles are different. So do you think that for managing resilience also, the measures that we take or the initiatives that we take need to be different for different generations?
Yeah, Pallavi, so I feel there is a different approach which is needed for different generations. The first thing is that at any point of time in history, and more so today, at least there are 4 generations which coexist together and they work and collaborate together. So, whereas we must be mindful of the fact that every individual is unique, and all of us belong to the species Homo sapiens. So, it's really overgeneralization it's like a sweeping generalization to say that, different generations, people are the same, they need a different approach. At the same time, yes, there are discernible patterns and we can, learn from them to be able to understand a little better, but being mindful of the individuality as well. So I think, for example, I would say the generations which are there in the workforce today is the baby boomers. Say those who were born between 1946 to 1964 primarily. So that is one generation, which is a little less now. The larger workforce is from Generation X, which is born between 1965 to 1980. There are various ranges given by different studies, demographic studies. However, this is one of the more accepted ones. So, this Generation X, I think what works better or what the motivators are could be respect, position, money. Whereas the millennials, those who've been born between 1981 to 1996, there again, money has been there, and equally important has been flexibility. And there are many more, of course, motivators, but these are 2 key primary motivators, I would say. And then Gen Z, those born between 1997 and 2002, some of them are joining the workforce out there, because their grandparents, by and large, took care of the living part, that to earn a living part for them. And their parents may have taken care of the standard of living, where you have the EMIs for the car and the house and other stuff. So now this is the generation which is coming onto its own, primarily has a choice to do that as well. And is not bogged down by the basics in that sense. I'm saying most of them. So they are more, motivated by purpose. Of course, flexibility remains the same. So these are the generation which coexist together. Now, equally important is hyper-personalization of, the approach that we follow with the entire workforce. Not only generation-wise, but also individual-wise, include factoring in their specializations, their qualification, and the area of work that they have in. So that also plays a very important role. So what are their preferences? The other thing is this generational diversity is actually a competitive advantage. it is not really burden in that sense. Like culture, which can be your competitive advantage, generational diversity is a advantage, a big advantage, because people would have your decisions would be better. If a team has all the different generations, the views, experience, ideas, solutions, they are different. So, just like any other aspect of diversity, gender or differently abled diversity or geographical diversity, generational diversity also gives you this advantage of having better. So the other flip side is also like there are areas where one is very good, one of the generations, and individuals belonging to another group are not so good. So they can help each other also. So the Gen Z, as it is, said to say, of course, there are many individuals in Gen Z who are highly confident, really go-getters, but sometimes, they may get hassled a little sooner, or loneliness may grip them a little faster, maybe because all of them have come up as a single child, families, so that socialization opportunities have not been there. Sometimes a single parent child or both parents working. So their time has been, they haven't got that much of social interaction time. So because of various reasons, and then I have seen so many, for example, many of my ex-colleagues way back also when this generational thing was not being talked about. So they would say that, no, he is my colleague, and more than an ex-colleague, he is like an elder brother. So that counseling bit from one generation to the other, when the situation is there. So that is another thing which can be really leveraged upon. Age diverse project teams, special projects. I think that is something which can really leverage the unique strengths of individuals. Also, I think what is important is reverse mentoring. You can do far better than otherwise. So these are some of the things, by having different generations, one could do better in the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. I think that's a very interesting way of putting it across that, okay, while gender diversity and age diversity will always be there, how do we leverage upon the strengths? Especially each of the generations have their own strengths, and how do we use that to the best of our advantage? But one interesting concept I think comes, or even like one difficult concept that comes up is, irrespective of whatever age bracket you are in, irrespective of where you are in the corporate workforce today, most corporate employees keep on complaining about stress. So my next question is to Dr. Brilliant. Doctor, stress is supposed to be one of the biggest contributors of loss of productivity and employee demotivation, right? Which leads to employees losing resilience at workplace today. So how are corporates supposed to manage it? What are we supposed to do about it?
Thank you, Pallavi, for that interesting question. And my fellow panel members have given a great level of insight on how things work and what needs to be done. And if you look at resilience in itself, it's not a fixed state ever. What was resilience for me yesterday may or may not work and apply today. So that is the way in which life, stress, everything goes. And the best thing about resilience or anything in life is it can be developed and strengthened. Since Sanjay spoke about strength, it could be strengthened. Unfortunately, we all know that stress can make resilience very difficult. In fact, stress is inevitable. Or whether we like it or not, it's a part and parcel of what we are going through day in and day out. With the change of the workforce from a completely in-person mode to an offline mode, online mode, technically speaking, then coming back into a mode where we are hybrid, right? Accessibility has increased. So today, even if it's 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm still worried when I wake up, is there an SMS? Is there a job pending? Which never used to exist a few years ago. And I can talk from experience in our organization. In the past few months, unfortunately, we've encountered multiple instances of stress induced by these hyper activity, hyper behaviors. Many youngsters, and this is not a categorization or a stereotyping of generation, but what we have seen is because they generally tend to be alone, they come from different cities here, they are getting affected by lifestyle diseases. They are either Netflix addicts, they are either binging on food. There are some instances where youngsters and even elderly people have this fear of missing out, and they get addicted to doing something to prove themselves. And unfortunate instances, they get addicted to substance because they want to fit in. And that is a dangerous behavior. So what has worked for us to bring down the instances of stress amongst staff members? One, the most important is planning work effectively. We are all managers. We have gone through the journey step by step, and we realize that when you are that manager where you want to get things done, you want everything to be in your control, right? But if you really want to be stress free, you need to learn how to delegate effectively, prioritize, and build better relationship. Today, the bigger problem that we face, we've heard this cliched statement that people don't leave organizations, but they leave managers. It's all because there is no effort put in building a relationship. Trust your team. I know it's difficult, it takes time, but slowly build that trust and let them also believe that they are a part of this big picture. Deliveries are critical, and if we can work together, if we are aligned to the vision of the organization, vision of the team goals, I think it's easy. What's also important, according to me, is time slicing. Having defined periods, I would say block your calendar to say every single day I will have lunch from a particular period, 1 to 1:30. I have put it as a block in my calendar, every day recurring calendar, so that even if I forget, I know this is a time when I need to focus on lunch, because work will continue. We get dragged into situations and we don't have a control on it. If you are able to manage some of these behaviors, it makes it easy. I have been encouraging my team to block a 30-minute slot in their calendar on self development. Invest in something which you love. It could be a hobby, it could be gaining a skill, it could be anything that can take you out from this work mindset. Give a break for a 30 minutes period and then you move on. What we realized is one of the biggest contributors of stress, especially in a city like Mumbai, is long travel and commuting time. It adds to the stress like crazy. I personally have been experiencing driving 2 hours to work and taking 3 hours to go back is, I would have probably taken a flight and reached some other place. But occasionally, we need to create a situation where we break the chain. And what we did is we said, how about starting work a bit early? Instead of 9:30, we start work at 8:30. That way, I can beat a lot of traffic, and it saves me almost about 60 minutes of time getting stuck in traffic, which could be utilized fruitfully. And this can help in either you pursuing a hobby of your choice or simply relaxing, right? Today, we are all hearing these news that people don't get time, shut-eye time is low. Use that 60 minutes to do whatever best in your interest. From an organization perspective, what we also focused on is how can we give those nudges to employees? And we have something called as a Wellness Wednesday, through which we encourage healthy food habits, where my team curates some healthy habits on eating, exercising, promoting a stay fit culture, right? Now that's critical. While these are small things, it makes a big impact and a huge dent in the way you want to see things happen. My personal suggestion to everyone who wants to beat stress is cultivate at least one hobby. It could be music, dancing, swimming, running, painting, anything that aligns with you to give you a welcome break from this. What I do is I have the stress ball handy. We all know gussa aata hai, so you feel like wrenching your hands and saying, "Nahi karna." So use tools that are easily available. It's an investment to say, let's invest in ourselves. Organizations can do only so much, but as individuals, we need to recognize that the onus is on us to ensure that we leverage all the ideas and thoughts that the organizations share with us so that we can benefit from it. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brilliant, for sharing it across so beautifully. And I completely agree with you. I think stress is something which is, it's a part and parcel of our lives today. But how we choose to act towards it, how we choose to respond towards it, basically talks about how resilient we are as people. And I think the way people are now looking at stress, the way now people are looking at work has changed drastically, especially after the pandemic. probably work from home or work from anywhere. This particular concept, which was not even heard of before, everybody's now started talking about it. Everybody's now started asking for remote work or hybrid work opportunities. As you rightly said, Billion, probably in cities like Mumbai. I'm from Bangalore, so I go through crazy traffic myself. Commuting 2 hours every day for work is a very, very stressful part of it. So my next question is to Prableen. Prableen, you talked a lot about ensuring that people are having that emotional intelligence, people are taken care of. Now, especially in a situation now where people are asking for work from home or work from anywhere or remote working opportunities. What is your take on this? Do you see that this could be a future, or you think this is just a passing phase?
Hey, Pallavi, see, it's almost not 2 years, a little more than 2 years when this pandemic broke out, disrupted our daily lives, disrupted working patterns of millions of people. And in these 2 years, the virus has disrupted human life in such a big way. So there are many sectors who have made shift to working from home. Even millions lost their jobs also. And we still are not sure when we are going to return to the normalcy 100%. It seems that this is going to be part and parcel of our life. So, well, several jobs have shifted to work from home. Yeah. So during this COVID-19, the trend is still continuing. So it turns out to be a hybrid model, the model which seems to be going to stay for a longer period of time. May not be just restricted to COVID-19, but COVID-19 actually has changed the perspective of all of us, of all generations. The way we look at work, commuting to the workplace is something difficult today. It sounds difficult because we have learned that work can be done in a remote manner also. There are tools which are bringing all of us together. So key questions before us and employers and employees is actually, will there be a hybrid way of working which is going to stay for a longer period of time? Will it become a norm of our working ways? And what is good for all if in case this pandemic is not still getting completely disappeared from our lives? So how is it? But then there are some other questions like you highlighted about emotional intelligence. If it is work from home, then how will the new generation of workers interact with their senior colleagues? How are they going to learn new things? How are they going to learn, working and sitting in a pool of people, socializing with them? How will they hone those skills of socializing and still stay relevant ahead of the curve if they're not going to be physically present in the office? So these are both the sides of the coin, where on one side we say life has become much easier because we don't have to travel to the workplace. Like in metros, the travel time is too high and it is only adding to the stress. It is only leading to the loss of productive time. But at the same time, are we able to build better team cohesiveness by being sitting at home? So here the role of the leader has become all the more important. The role of HR has become very, very important, not only just ensuring the productivity, but still maintaining the culture of team, culture of relating with each other, culture of one family is still relevant by being working at the remote places. So the role of HR and the leaders in the industry has become extremely important in these times. So my thought is, if you ask me specifically, Pallavi, yes, hybrid way of working is definitely going to stay and it should be there. Now we have to actually ensure how we ensure the emotional security to the employees. How are we going to ensure the job security to the employees? How are we going to build team spirit among the employees? How are we going to actually train them, yet bring all of them together, institute various programs and make them relevant for their careers also, right? So these are the challenges which are posed by the hybrid work model, but the corporates are definitely working on so many areas to make it relevant and viable. So I believe large number of companies are actually finding hybrid way of working, being more productive, more efficiency is there, more output is there, but also one challenge that there is very thin line between the personal space and official space. And this gets overlapped so easily, so frequently that we also don't get to know. Like just my colleague has mentioned that maybe I will get up in the morning with the thought, there is some SMS. I am available and contacted by various tools like Teams or WebEx. So there may be a call lined up before the office hours and beyond the office hours. So it is, if we want to make it a norm of the working culture, then we have to be responsible. We have to respect the personal space of the employees so that they should not experience burnouts. And the programs which we are talking about, enhancing the life skills, enhancing the emotional intelligence, building on employee well-being models, we can institute face-on-face trainings also, and we can run such programs in a remote manner by connecting them on the online platform. So such programs can be run continuously. And we have to be sensitive towards the diversity and promote inclusiveness at the same time. So this model brings in more productivity, efficiency, output, but at the same time, we as leaders have to be more responsible in being sensitive towards building the culture of diversity, culture of inclusiveness, culture of emotional security. Yeah. So on one side, definitely, employees feel that they are closer to family. They have better physical and mental health. They have strong work relationships. There is improved productivity. They can have their own choice of location. They can continue to stay with their parents. They don't have to leave the cities and go to metros, as IT hubs are mostly found in the metros. So they can continue to be with their parents and less time to commute to workplace. Yeah. But at the same time, we really have to be sensitive towards the timing. We should not disturb the work-life balance of the employees. So it's on us that how can we build such interventions not to disturb their personal space and be very, very healthy on building certain interventions around distinction between the timings for the office and timings for the personal space, which has been happening so often, so frequent, and it has been a voice raised, concern raised by the employees that they have forgotten that they are sitting at the home or sitting in the office because it is such a continuous trend throughout the days. It seems that we are working for 24 hours. Yeah. So hybrid model maybe works well for certain jobs and may not be working well for other set of jobs. So it is that everything is great about work from home model because there are a set of people, there are a couple of employees who really want to work in the social setup. And there are unique individuals and people who would really like to be at home, closer to their family, and yet fulfilling the role requirements, the requirements which organization has set from them. So they may be able to fulfill by sitting at home also. So both the situations are good. We really need to create a balance between work from home and work from office kind of situation. And we at our technology center, it is like that there is a hybrid model is in place. So there are 1 or 2 days in a week which manager and the team members are deciding when they are meeting each other, discussing whatever targets, team goals, going out with the team, planning some team excursions to build that emotional intelligence in the system and ensuring that emotional security in the organization. So work from home definitely is here to stay. So we really should start thinking on the hybrid model of working, at the same time being very responsible towards the employees to build emotional security. or a web of emotional security in the organization, which is very important.
Thank you, Prableen.
Thank you. These are the points which I really want to bring on the table.
Thanks. So, of course, as Prableen said, a lot of organizations are also waking up to the fact now that there are different ways of working. I think pandemic, if not anything, has pushed our thinking a lot of light years ahead, if I may put it that way, wherein some things which were not possible earlier are happening right now. On that note, while we'll definitely have few more questions for the panelists, I just want to take a quick poll from the audience right now. And now every organization is looking at different ways of measuring or different ways of managing workforce resilience. Now, can I request the HR Association of India team to put in the poll question on the board? So the question is, what are some of the measures that are used by your organization to manage workforce resilience? Your options are active recruitment, fostering a sense of community or family, as the panelists have been talking about. Option 3 is cultivating a psychologically safe workplace. Option 4 is facilitate flexibility. If there is any other measure, you could put it in the chat box. So the question is very simple. Every organization is taking different measures. You can choose any one option, two options, up to you. So while the poll is still happening and the poll results are going to come across, my next question is going to be to Dr. Brilliant SK. Doctor, we recently had World Mental Health Awareness Day, right? Now, every organization is now talking about ensuring that the employees' well-being is at the center or the focus of every initiative that we're taking. What is your take on it?
Koi hai, right? It's as simple as it can be. There's a lot of silence around mental well-being. I was shocked to hear stories about physical abuse, mental trauma from people who seemingly carry a broad smile all the time. And the messaging is as subtle as Raja in Sagar, who said, Koi sab jeete sab koi haar de, apni to haar hai. No, it's a hidden message. Unfortunately, everyone cannot decode it, and we need experts. And that is where we decided to reach out and tie up with an agency who are experts in this field. And they are the ones who will help us stay emotionally fit and resilient so that we manage stress, be it personal, professional. And today there are multiple incidents where you don't know something that doesn't look natural is way of life for some people. And this flexibility is also extended to their family members. What we tend to forget most of the time is a staff member is not just he or she alone, right? They have a family associated with them and they may need support for the family. And as an organization, we have also said we are happy to extend this facility beyond the staff to the family members as well. The best part is this is an anonymous engagement where there is no detail shared between us as the organization, and the employee is completely in safe hands of professionally trained experts. Now, this is very critical, and I am very happy to say that many of my staff members have leveraged these services and have come back and thanked us saying, thank you. While I know it may not be a big thing, but it meant a lot. We've been able to provide some support. One element that we need to constantly harp on is the need for awareness. And I think Prableen was the one who said about mindfulness. So we do carry sessions on mindfulness, workshop to manage stress, and have been rolled out in a way that we do it in small pockets rather than make it as a mandatory checkbox attendance saying you need to attend it. We keep it open. People are welcome to attend. People have asked if family members can join. That itself says a lot about the small things that make a big impact. A philosophy that we worked on. And staff came up with certain ideas saying that we work almost about 10 hours in office. There is so much of things we do. We need a small place where we can break out. So when we were redoing the office, we created a small game zone where people can take some time out from active working, come there for a few minutes, spend some time, get back, a small lounge area, a library. All of these are small elements. We don't realize it. The importance of getting that me time in a highly stressful day is critical. And as an organization, I'm very happy to see that all these initiatives, though it looks very small, have been leveraged by the staff members across, and they have come back with positive comments. And I think that's what will make a difference for everyone who wants to help staff members cope with changes in their mental health. Over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Brilliant. And I think you kind of put this thought across very correctly. There's still a lot of silence around this subject. This subject supposedly is still a very taboo subject, but a lot of people are now waking up and realizing the fact that mental health awareness is real. And as employers, we should not be shooing down the employees or saying that you're not allowed to talk about it, but ensuring that there is a safe modicum for them to talk. And while we are at this subject, the poll results have come in, and if you're able to see your screen, I think a lot of you have kind of put your answers between ensuring that active recruitment is happening, even while people are we're not able to retain some of the employees. We're ensuring that recruitment for those positions are happening. Cultivating a psychologically safe workplace. 30% of you have said that this is something which you would like to or you are doing at your workplaces, and a lot of you, 30% again, have talked about facilitating flexibility at workplace. I think those are very critical points, and good to see that a lot of organizations, a lot of us are kind of now taking initiatives very actively on it. My last question for this particular panel discussion, before I put the question on for question and answer session, is to Mr. Sanjay. Sanjay, a lot of us understand that, especially in times of change like this, upskilling and reskilling of the workforce is very critical, right? Whatever worked well maybe a few months, few years back may not be very relevant now. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the World Economic Forum, it estimates that 40% of the Indian employees will need reskilling and 60% will need upskilling by 2025 itself. So that is some data which is important. And there are various companies which are doing a couple of things to do that, to be change ready, to be ready for uncertainty. This is the post-VUCA world, and for uncertainty. So, for example, in our company, what we are doing is we have really increased the number of HR and OD interventions, like a Johari window for better interpersonal relations, self-awareness, understanding, and 360-degree feedback sessions also. We have, of course, a hypo pipeline, high potentials, wherein we are doing the assessment centers and the individual development plans. They are being really worked upon by the employee, the reporting manager, and the HOD, rather than HR, who remains an enabler and a facilitator only. New manager development course. There are values workshop where you start behaving as per the corporate values to the extent possible during your work behaviors. So these are some of the things we are doing, and there is a lot in the pipeline as well. So that is the preparation for that, upskilling and reskilling. The other thing is there are a lot of roles which are going to become extinct. Yeah. And there are a lot of new roles to come up. So that will necessitate upskilling and reskilling. And secondly, the culture of continuous learning and education. That is the other thing. The special projects teams, which will be the cross-functional teams, which are already being formed to address it. And then specializations which are deep vertically. And also there are other generalists who are very wide, who have vast experience horizontally. So that is the other thing which is important. One very important thing in the context of the Great Resignation is retention, continuous learning opportunities for the employees. That's the biggest tool for retention. Sure. So till the time an employee is, feeling that she or he is learning and is growing, retention becomes easier. Interactive virtual learning, that is the other thing which is really going to be key. And of course, particularly with the ambiguity around the emerging trends which are there, like, moonlighting. So there are pros and cons to it. There are different companies which have, different views on that. Some feel that, it is fine to do that. The others feel that, no, this is unethical. So, for example, Tech Mahindra, CP Gurnani, whom I have worked with in one of the stints earlier in HCL Pero system. So he said that is fine, and it can be in fact an enriching experience. So there are, in this kind of a scenario, if you're not upskilling and reskilling, that is something very difficult to handle then. And particularly with the new generation, the more they are looking for purpose, which is undefined, of course. So as you go along, you define, and that skilling is very, very important. So I think just taking a cue from work from home, all that is good, but we have to remember that the hybrid model has to work also, because India is also at a cusp of an economic transformation. If the 5 trillion economy has not happened, it will happen soon. The GDP rate has been the highest, and India is, kind of going to become the global factory now. So with this, and so much of work, and so there has to be a balance between the organizational interest, the business interest, and the individual interest. So there has to be a balance there. For that, again, how to grow with having a work-life balance. One is larger workforce. What are the other solutions to it? More productivity, more efficiency, more creativity. So, all this calls for continuous upskilling and reskilling. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I think we have had a very interesting discussion with the different, aspects or different, different formats of the challenge that we are facing as maintaining workforce resilience being brought in. What I'll do is I'll now open the session to the audience. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that the audience would like to ask.
Yeah, Ms. Pallavi, before we move to the Q&A round, we will be running a poll to
Sure.
have the participants' valuable feedback on this session.
Of course. So while Team HR Association of India is running the poll, I'll also request you to keep in mind the questions. You could put it in the chat window. You could also unmute yourself and ask the question directly.
Request all participants to please feel free and put their questions in the chat window. So, Ms. Pallavi, we have received one question. In case you want to take it up in the chat window.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Neha, for the question. The question is for all panel members, since Neha has not mentioned which panel member she would want to address the question for. The question goes on: what and how can organizations be prepared to embrace the change?
So I'll take a dig at this. Again, it may give out my age, but a good old Pan Parag ad, in the end, one person comes and says, "Aur mere liye." Right now, organizations have a tough task to balance what the organization needs are and align it to the generational workforce that we have. And it's a tough thing to do. Many organizations have tried it and not been able to achieve success 100%. And I'm saying we should not aim for 100%. We should start doing it in small steps. I can give you a simple example of how I brought in a small change in my team. When I joined, a week into my joining this organization, I realized that my team is a foodie. Every single person loved food. Every time I would walk out, I could see people having food, all kind of delicacies, and it was not really a healthy sign. So what I did is I gifted them Fitbit bands, and I said, every day you need to ensure 10,000 steps are clocked, no cheating. And it became a habit. Slowly, everyone started following it. And sometimes, it's important for us to bring in that focus, and whether we like it or not, unless there is a tangible impact that people can see, they will only take it as a checkbox activity. Very recently, I did a similar kind of an activity where we used an app, an impact app, which would convert your steps into currency. They will add currency equivalent to the currency you've generated, and you can donate it for a cause. So I was very happy to see, while the official challenge was for just a month, people continue to do it, and there are some members who are still doing it. And I think that's what is important for all of us, to take that first step, bring that small changes, and that can lead to a great change for the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brilliant. Very beautifully put. The next question is from Karan. Karan, thank you so much for your question. The question goes on how HR should be managing workplace stress. Any of the panel members can choose to answer it.
Hi, everyone. I think we discussed during the session also that how the stress is impacting today's times, all the more in comparison to the times gone by, because of so much of exposure to the social media from the very young age to today's time. Today's, like, people like us are exposed so much to the social media. Today we woke up to some news on the net, which may gives you a positive feeling, which may gives you a negative feeling. So stress starts from there only. You're running around, you're to get ready for the office, then the traffic and everything. So how HR should be managing workplace stress? What value HR can bring to the workplace, to combat the situation of stress at the workplace? So what are the stressors at the workplace? Anyone would like to talk about it? Would like to speak? What do you feel? What are the stressors at the workplace? Is a career rat race brings in a sort of stress? To be always right in whatever you do at the workplace builds some sort of stress? Yes or no? Any one person? Okay, so we'd like to hear as a monologue, all right? So all these, the competition at the workplace, to stay ahead of the curve at the workplace, to climb the career ladder at the workplace, and to be best in the team, brings in some kind of stress. But is it a stress or a negative stress? Yeah, is it a positive stress or a negative stress? So HR would deal with the negative stresses at the workplace. So today, just to create that work-life balance and just to help employees deal with the daily stress at the workplace, the organizations are introducing so many techniques. They have developed fun rooms where there are so many, games to play, indoor activities. The outdoor activities are planned. Employee engagement, which is a tangent of employee engagement, is fun interventions, maybe something known as Friday fun or Wednesday questions or curiosities. We have created some such interventions at the workplace, rewarding them adequately at the workplace and recognizing their efforts. It does not require a very big function. It is just a pat on the back, just a pat on the back, just going to the seat and patting, oh, guys, you have done a great job. Yeah, just bringing the team together and then celebrating the success of the team. Not only celebrating the success of the team, but celebrating the failure also of the project to take away some learnings from it, and then improvising the strategy to be successful is also a stress buster, right? So this is how HR today is managing how to help employees build their mental strength, give them psychological safety net. One of the parameters which has been ticked by all of you, psychological safety net at the workplace is very important. It is supported by team cohesiveness. It is supported by peer-to-peer connect. It is supported when I have someone at my workplace who can be my go-to person. Without any inhibitions or fears, I can share with him or her what is going on in my mind. It is something related to the work. It is something related to my personal life. Do I have some such friend at the workplace? We really need to introspect that Am I able to have some such friend at the workplace today who can be my go-to person? Do I make some efforts to build trust with my peers or with my leaders at the workplace? These are the small activities or small things which can help de-stress you. It's better to express than keeping the feelings to you. And today it is very important role of HR and the leaders to build such psychological safety net at the workplace. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Prableen. I think we are already overshot of time, but I'll just have one very interesting question that Pooja has asked. I'll put this last question to Mr. Sanjay. Sanjay, Pooja says that as a leader, how do you create those conditions for organizations and individuals to thrive?
That's a very important question. I think what is most important is we create equal, and not only equal, so to be equal, but also perceived to be equal opportunities for everyone to grow. So for that, the performance management system, that has to be really objective and fair. That is where something, it's easier said than done. Most of the times, one does not really execute it correctly. So the PMS has to be very good and correctly done and administered. The promotion impacts, that has to be absolutely perceived as fair. Otherwise, it would really do more harm than good for which it is being done. Similarly, learning opportunity at different career stages, that is very important. For example, an individual moving from an individual contributor role, an employee moving from that role to a manager's role, that is something, a different ballgame altogether. Or from a manager's role to a leader's role. So that is something even different, or a CXO role then. So these are different stages where organization has the onus and responsibility to provide inputs at these stages of career. Moreover, the different policies, practices, they all also have to really create a level playing field. Then there are regulatory stuff which has to be done very well, like POSH, whether it is really executed seamlessly and correctly. Then I think those are some of the things which I would feel really create a good the opportunities for thriving.
I would also like to add just one point here, to give individuals grow in the organization or thrive in the organization. It's very important to involve them in the challenging projects. Create CFTs, bring some challenging projects on the table and give them opportunity to perform or to fail. Those projects become platform for them to thrive and grow in the organization. Yeah.
Thanks, Prableen. Thank you, Sanjay, for answering the question so well. We have a lot more questions, but I think because we are really short of time, we'll have to cut the session short here, but very, very interesting session nevertheless. Now, if I have to sum up the entire discussion, whatever has been happening so far, all of us understand that being a resilient workforce or managing a resilient workforce is not an easy task. There are a lot of elements, there are a lot of challenges that there are in it. But as HRs, as business leaders, one thing that we need to start doing is to start giving a lot more flexibility to our employees, start empowering the employees. And that's something that will bring that fear or the psychologically safe environment picture much more stronger into being. So taking the time to teach, to upskill or reskill your employees in a way so that they are able to come up the learning curve, so that they are able to, understand how to handle rejections, also how to handle their own emotional intelligence. I think those are some of the critical aspects that, we need to start looking at, we need to start paying attention to. Definitely managing workforce resilience is the long way to go. While of course, attrition will happen, but what matters is, are we able to create a workforce which is not only loyal to the organization but also productive? And that's how I'd like to end the session with. Thank you so much, Team HR Association of India, for organizing this wonderful opportunity for us to come and interact. Thank you, Dr. Brilliant, Sanjay, and Prableen, for your very interesting insights.
Thank you, Pallavi, for
Thank you so
wonderful
much, Pallavi. Thanks, Team HRA. Thank you so much.
Thank you all participants.
Thank you, Ms. Pallavi, for taking us through this session and making it interactive and exciting. Thank you, Dr. Brilliant, Mr. Sanjay, and Ms. Prableen for sharing your valuable thoughts and insights with us. It has been a privilege having you all for this engrossing session. To all those who wish to learn and grow, you can access the recording of our today's session on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. Before we conclude with today's session, we would also want to thank all the event partners, Geisha, NASCOM COE, Talgro, TLE, WICCI, LinkedIn Local Ahmedabad and India for supporting HREI's event. To know more about these associations, I request you to kindly visit the links provided in the chat window. Do join us for our next Connecting the Dots on the topic Accelerating DEI on 3rd November 2022. That's it from our today's webinar. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pallavi.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, all the panel members. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. Bye.